Deloitte to startup ecosystems in UK, USA, UAE, and India, four continents. How do you see all those experiences from those four continents you were able to bring together to help the Indian startup ecosystem?
So first and foremost, I would say I'm a Fauji brat or an army brat, and that is the underpinning of everything that has happened in my life. Secondly, I believe I'm incredibly lucky to be at the right place at the right time.
Let's talk about the startups. You travel a lot, I travel a lot, India trip, international, wherever. You often say from idea till IPO. And
Yes,
when I meet with the new age founders today, be it India, be it here in the US, majority of them are not thinking about building it or keeping it or taking it to IPO. That is, ki bhai, our exit strategy is somebody will buy us out in about 5 years' time. A typical IPO takes nine plus years. So,
yeah.
do you see a mindset set for early stage founders that they are really going into a business not to create a company, they are going into a business to build it to a certain level, sell, exit, and go and do something else.
This is very true. I have come across a lot of this. Uh, there's a fundamental lack of understanding. A lot of the first time founders could be someone who was a middle manager now but had a good idea, found some money, found a tech, found the co-founder, etc., to go along. And since they were exposed to maybe a large organization, either a service organization, technology, etc., they were exposed to the standard corporate ladder that you climb up and so on and so forth. So you're looking at then, okay, I'll create some value, someone else will come along, they will give me an exit and so on and so forth. Nothing wrong with that, but the thinking. Because if you're a startup founder, you are really not like a corporate person scaling a corporate ladder. You're a transformational leader. You are looking for something absolutely unique in the way that you're approaching life, and you're looking for scale. Because if you're getting people to come on board with you and invest with you, and it's agreed that the exit path is either going to be an IPO or a strategic sale, in both cases, you should be building with absolute conviction in terms of your transformational journey forward. So,
Mhm.
because each stage and each phase, it's like Tuckman's famous, you know, paradigm of forming, storming, norming, performing, you know, and it's the performing phase, the last phase which is where you're able to realize value for yourself and the people who are with you. Um, in fact, the people who are with you, your co-founders, the employees who are arguably as much in terms of importance as stakeholders, whether they put in money or they didn't, etc., they put in time, which they'll never get back uh, with you. So it's incumbent upon you as a founder to think IPO because it imposes certain disciplines on you, which
Mhm.
strategic sale thinking does not. What am I saying there? I'm saying that from the very beginning, you should build up a virtual data room which can
Mhm.
pass muster with a due diligence easily, right? Everyone
Right.
hates doing it. I haven't met a founder who doesn't, say that, man, I really hate this. Can't my CS, my company secretary do it or somebody else,
Mhm.
etc. And the answer is, well, when you're just one person and one or two more, set up the skeleton, commit to it, and start your journey like that, so that you should be ready to be audited anytime. If you can do that, it drives tremendous efficiency, discipline, and the possibility of actually getting to an IPO. I'm under no illusions in terms of the numbers who will get to an IPO. It's still
Mhm.
going to be maybe just 5%. After all, entrepreneurship is the hardest path that you can actually take. People tend to glamorize it. There've been nice TV programs like Shark Tank and so on and so forth, and the chase after valuations. But really, it's the toughest journey that a person can take. when you hear some of the interviews of Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or other people who are genuine entrepreneurs who've made it to a very large scale, they never tell you it's easy, but it's
Mhm.
worthwhile.
It
So,
is.
in the end, idea to IPO, um, for me at least, when I'm coaching for founders, is can you start getting the IPO hygiene skeleton up from the very beginning so you know that that is what you're going to be building. Whether you
Right.
do the IPO or not will depend on too many variables at the very beginning.
Right. Right. So true. Let's talk about the founder's mindset.
Yeah.
Uh, Explain the importance of the mindset over just an idea. So consider a founder who comes up with an idea but doesn't have the mindset, or a mindset full entrepreneur who is looking for an idea. Who do you bet your money
So it's going to be mindset every time. It's for the simple reason that entrepreneurship is very, very hard. And if you like the secret sauce behind success, however you may define it, everyone defines it in financial terms. But success has many, many parameters. Success also has many fathers, and failure has none, as they say. But interestingly, although a startup business may fail, founders never fail. And people find this hard to
on?
understand because a founder, a genuine founder, genuine entrepreneur, treats failure just like Edison did with his 1,000 failures to invent the light bulb, right? He didn't look at it like that. He just found, there were different ways of, you know, arriving at something, you know, getting close to a solution there. So mindset is very, very, very important. Now people say, oh, well, you're either born as an entrepreneur or you're not. That's really not true.
Yeah, it
It
is not
can
true.
be coached. It
Mhm.
can be provided the founder is willing to learn. If they're able to empty their glass and commit to having mentors. I
Mhm.
give the example from basketball, for example. Michael Jordan, everyone's heard of. How many people
Mhm.
have heard of Tim Grover, who was
Yeah.
his fitness coach? Not many
Mhm.
people really know about that. But why would
Right.
someone as great as Michael Jordan take on a Tim Grover to help him? To keep him to the peak of his abilities. So,
Yeah.
startup founders always should have two mentors, I believe. One is someone who's mentoring them in terms of their life skills, and the other is related to their technical skills required to actually make a success of whatever they're doing. Um, Now, why am I saying this? Is because that we have been using our own methodology, which we call conscious entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
which means the first uh, thing we become conscious about is our own mindset as an entrepreneur or as a human being. And the famous question that was asked by Ramanna Maharishi, he
Mhm.
said, "Can you answer who am I?" And it's amazing, I did this with my own life skills coach. It took us 2 years for me to nail down and peel
Yeah.
the onion and figure out, you know, who am I?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
really difficult. Yeah. So
Yeah.
once you
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So once you've got hold of that kernel of what you have, of who am I, you know who you are. Now you can relate to the rest of the world, because you are very, very clear as to who you are. So then the startup issue is that, okay, who is the customer? Now you see, it becomes easier for you to
Mhm.
go into a deep dive with a customer with the same rigor and say, okay, who is the customer? What is it really that makes them tick? What is the problem? So the jobs to be done framework and all these other nice Western frameworks, married to this Indian concept of who am I, becomes a very powerful way of actually understanding, because the customer will tell you, my problem is this, but really that's
Mhm.
the effect. It's not the actual problem. So when you do five W's and one H, why methodology of doing root cause analysis, you actually come up with something else or the opportunity, etc. By the way, in our incubation program, what we've decided to do, unlike most other people, is to spend 1 month on just the idea.
Mhm.
Because why? A lot of people say, 1 month on an idea. Why? The guy is coming into your thing already with an idea. So answer is yeah. But when you look at the analysis of the 5 reasons for success, and I think this is done over 40,000 companies. Number one is timing. Number two is
Mhm.
team. Number three is idea. Number
Mhm.
four is your capacity and processes. And number five, of course, is everyone's favorite. They call it out first, but actually it's number five. It's funding. Do you have the funding, the cash flow runway to make your startup take off? But idea comes at number three, directly after timing. But timing, to some extent, is in your control or may not be. It's whether you can take advantage of it. That leaves team. Team becomes really paramount. An idea. So you spend time on the idea, deep dive, test it out,
Mhm.
because there has to be a actually there are two or three things. So there has to be founder problem fit, founder idea fit, founder market fit, founder team fit, before all the other things we see in lean startup method, which is, the usual problem solution fit, product market fit, growth, and so on and so forth. Actually, a lot of stuff has to happen with the founders themselves. It'll cut down the failure rate from 94% to whatever it can be. See, if the
Mhm.
idea sucks, you're at great risk, because it's one of the top 5 reasons for success.
Great. Let's spend some more time on the five parameters. Timing, team, idea, capacity, and funding. Give me one example of each.
Okay,
It is
so
very
timing.
interesting. I think this will be the highlight of this podcast so far. We have been recording for the last 32 minutes now.
Right.
I think this is the gist which I would like to highlight for the upcoming founders, that hey, go and fix your timing, team, idea, capacity, and then go for funding, not the other way around. I have an idea, I need funding so that I can work on it.
Yes. Okay. So I want to give a shout out to, and always give respect and gratitude to the people who originated the idea. So this concept of the big five have come out from Bill Gross of Idea Labs. From one of the earlier generations of people funding startups and of course doing deep research in it. He's still relevant. I think it's very, very important. So timing, good example of that is, let's say, the iPad.
Mhm.
Now, it's not iPad is not new. It was there in Xerox. Then Microsoft came up with an earlier version of a tablet, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, because the product was right, it was simple enough for people to use, and the timing was right. And
Mhm.
Apple does so many things so well,
Mhm.
it became very, very popular. It became the product for people to get. People were
Yeah.
practicing drumming on it. They were having dancing cats, whatever. So timing,
Yeah.
that's one example of, why
Eh,
timing is
Let,
important.
let, let's hold your thought. I would like to discuss with you two other timing opportunities here.
Sure.
One was, or one was, yeah, blockchain, and another one was metaverse. If today somebody comes up with a metaverse idea, it is a wrong timing. It is just a wrong timing.
Correct.
Again, you did talk about Apple iPhone. There was multiple touch screen phone available. HTC was one of those companies.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
Apple said that it is not about the phone and the features on the phone. It is about the app store. An
Yep.
app store is something which created the demand for iPhone, not the other way around.
You're so right. Also, I think the drive to extreme simplicity. So
Yeah.
the paradigm of you should be able to use anything which is an electronic device or an app in 30 seconds or less. You should be able to download and start using it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have
yeah.
at least some basic functionality working in your hand. If you don't do that, then it's really onboarding friction as they call it,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you're not really able to do much with it. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
sir. Team. After
hello.
timing team.
So team is everything. People talk about it. Uh, Unfortunately, people have become incredibly cynical because of everything that's been happening in the corporate world, where people say, "Well, people are our greatest assets," but they don't hesitate to shed all of them in the interest of making the quarterly results and reporting on them and so on and so forth. So. Not realizing that, like I was saying, you think you're trimming fat, but sometimes you can actually saw through muscle and bone, and you're left with nothing. And the people who actually are the essence of what you do are not there. So there are two or three examples. Uh, I'll take from the let's start with the U.S. So
Mhm.
Steve Jobs' famous Bozo-fest paradigm, which is that look, if you are a insecure leader, so therefore you are not a category A, but you're perhaps a B or a C, you will surround yourself with category B or C type of people, and
Mhm.
therefore your organization will be able to execute to only the extent that it can. Then we have Vinod Khosla's famous paradigm of gene pool engineering rather than
Mhm.
HR. I find that a useful way of pulling together a team, because you start with identifying the top five risks that you're faced with as an organization. So even the exercise of articulating those shows up your gaps immediately to you. So out of the top five areas, maybe you between yourself and your two co-founders, you may be covering one or two or three, but then you need a couple more. And then you go out and try and look for the very best people and bring them on board. Your skill as a founder is whether you can onboard people even when you can't really afford them, you know. So that's where this whole paradigm of, okay, I can't pay you cash, but I can give you sweat and a stake and and also a place on the high table along with
Mhm.
the top team and so on and so forth. It's all of that. And then hiring is not enough. um, in fact, there's a British joke about this, that most people practice what is called the mushroom school of management, uh, which is that you so how do mushrooms grow? You keep them in the dark, meaning don't tell them anything, and you occasionally open the door and throw some shit on top of them, meaning screaming, shouting this, that, and shut it again, and then you're left with a toxic work environment and otherwise. Whereas
Mhm.
you contrast it even from the past in terms of people like Andy Grove at Intel, Sri Narayan Murthy at Infosys, and some other very famous cases where a lot of effort was put into actually developing, especially the core team and the next layers down. Because I do corporate training at MNCs, and especially MNCs which are running intrapreneurship programs where they are trying to create internal entrepreneurs. A lot of effort, money is being spent on actually getting people to the best of level that they possibly can. And the ambition there is that each person going through the training program inside a corporate also should become an SBU head themselves with an idea
Right.
they brought to the table. So it's something unique. Yeah.
So true. Let's talk about idea and then capacity and then funding.
Right. So idea is so when you say that, so what is the value of an idea? So they say that nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. Right. That's a famous quotation. So how do you know your idea's time has come? So again, idea and timing are kind of intermixed into this. The only way to do it is to investigate it like a scientist. So you write up your hypothesis. Here I'm describing really the lean startup paradigm,
Mhm.
where we are saying that, okay, I believe that this is an idea which is absolutely fantastic, right? Now, there's a professor out of Oxford called Bent Flyberg. He's actually looked into 15,000 projects, and they discovered that many a time a large project had got sanctioned without anyone looking into whether someone else has done this before. So
Mm-hmm.
very simple thing. The conclusions from that book, it's how to get big things done, is just look. And today there's no excuse. I mean, there used to be the internet 2 years
Yeah.
ago. Today we have Gen AI and all the other tools available to us where we can
Mm-hmm.
investigate. You can even have a conversational AI conversation saying that, hey, am I the only guy in the world who's actually had this idea? And it'll revert back saying, sorry, boss, 250 people have had it, etc. So it's become easier now for us to actually find out whether someone else has done this or not. And if someone else has done it, does it mean you abandon the idea? No. The iPhone is a great example of it. If you think about it, it's pulled together many other ideas, organized them incredibly well, made the interface incredibly simple. So
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a product that people love.
Right.
People say that, well, what is special about Apple? Apple is able to do something that many people see it, they know it, but they can't articulate it. They
Mm-hmm.
generate insane desire for their product. People are queuing up to go and buy the first version of the new iPhone.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing that for the new version of Android phones at all.
Right.
Now,
Right.
that's the key. So, what is that idea that is able to generate insane desire for whatever it is, the product that encapsulates the idea really well, right? So
That and BlackBerry is also a very good example. They had to market
I
share
used to
when Apple
love the
came in.
BlackBerry. Yeah, yeah. I used to love the BlackBerry. Absolute. I mean, I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was not that difficult to use. A QWERTY keyboard and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
later on, of course, they added stylus, but stylus
Mm-hmm.
never really floated my
Yeah.
boat. But the iPhone just took it out, because
Yeah.
everyone found the convenience and everything. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is time had come. BlackBerry should have adapted, couldn't.
Yeah.
So we have what we
And
have.
the same thing with Nokia. They couldn't innovate. Just
And Nokia is known for its innovation. That's the irony of it. They're one of the most innovative companies in the world. In fact, I was part of a Nokia enabled program. We were doing research. It was like a joint project between Johnson and Johnson, Nokia. They had these Nokia 3210 phones in the hands of Anganwadi workers all over India to disseminate, healthcare and sort of report back and all of that. So they had some brilliant ideas and everything else. It's just that technologically they couldn't see that they had to make the change and
yeah.
got outrun. So
Your
yeah.
views on capacity.
Okay, capacity. So I wrote a paper which is up in ResearchGate uh, in the phases of startup. So a startup is very different when it starts with the idea and then moves to break even point in its ups and downs of chasms and this that and the other, and then post break even point, uh, you start getting to the other side. So I say we have the three C's till you reach break even point. First C is customer. Your customer discovery, customer acquisition, customer retention, repeatability of purchases, and so on and so forth. So you get a lifetime value. That's customer. Then you have capacity, which is the enabling infrastructure to make sure that you're able to do all this that I just described about the customer. And to enable the capacity, the third C is cash. If you don't have a cash flow runway that can support capacity, then forget customer. So capacity is your people, your materials, your processes, your quality standards, and how you actually execute so that You have customer delight in your mind as opposed to anything else. I love Jeff Bezos's definition of a product. Instead of minimum viable product, they talk about minimum lovable product. You know? So that keeps the focus on ease of use, ease of ordering, this, that, and the other. Anyone who's used uh, Amazon's uh, ecosystem as a not as a individual but as a business, it's incredible. I mean, the back end is so good. You find
Mhm.
all your invoices there, easily put up. You can download everything without having to ask anyone. You know, millions of small pieces of effort have been executed. That's the capacity. That's the moat, actually. The capacity is the moat, ultimately.
Yeah, yeah,
People
yeah.
talk about customer and they talk about design and your IP and all these other things. Actually, if you don't have the capacity, none of those things will ever create a unicorn out of whatever you're doing. So
Yeah.
that is really, really important. And Amazon is a very, very good
Mhm.
organization to study. And they're so far ahead of everyone else because of this. I think Jeff Bezos has said this also that, most people don't realize what it took, at the back end and so many people working hard to make all the other stuff really happen. So
Mhm.
that's critical. Yeah.
Let's touch upon the funding of this five-step process. How much to raise, when to raise, and what is that, you should have a runway of 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. There are so many ideas and so many paradigms which are out there. What is your thought on funding? How much a founder and when a founder should raise?
So my view is very clear. Your funding should be from customer revenue.
Yes.
So if you focus on getting customer revenue in as quickly as possible, the rest of it, getting into debt, equity, convertible debt, all the fancy financial engineering that people do, and people don't realize the most precious non-renewable resource a startup founder has is his own time and attention. The moment
Mhm.
you get onto the fundraising bandwagon and trail, you're finished because you're not running your organization and building capacity. It takes it away from that. All of us who've done fundraising in whatever capacity we have in our various roles, it drains you, especially of time and attention, the endless questions, the endless templates and checklists and everything else you have to keep doing, rather than focusing on your business and just focusing on just getting better and better and better so that the customer is actually buying your product. So I feel the goal has to be customer revenue. It,
Mhm.
it doesn't cost you anything other than what you have to spend for the capacity you built to actually serve the customer, as opposed to anything else. The other bits we know, at idea stage, you have the triple F round, which is your friends, family, and
Food.
uncharitably they say fools. But actually, if a person is betting on you personally, they are not a fool. They love you. So
Right.
fine, so that's okay. And then, of course, the angel investment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the rounds of funding. And then, of course, there's debt. A lot of people are now, debt has become very, interesting. Actually want to talk in the Indian context also to you slightly
Mhm.
now. And the
Yeah.
Indian investor ecosystem has become more sophisticated, especially post 2020. Um, there was a lot of hype and a lot of people were getting funded who shouldn't have got funded, etc. So these days there is dry powder, as they say in investor parlance, because people are not throwing money into just an idea stage startup. They're not betting on founders whose mental resilience seems to be in doubt,
Mhm.
uh, and so on and so forth. So they're really now examining things. And India being India, they're unique solutions also. You said, of course, you've been, supporting the HR function over so many years in a very senior capacity also. They're very interesting. There's a Uh, there's uh, consultant who's running psychometrics using some of the parameters from Ayurveda and some of the ancient texts. And she offers a founder matching service, which is
Mhm.
interesting, huh? Because it finds out you know, the phenotype of, Vata,
Mhm.
Kapha, Pitta kind of basic phenotype, and sort of gives you guidance on that. I'm
Mhm.
not advocating at all, but she says that she's had a lot of success with uh, companies avoiding failure by having the wrong mix together. And we see
Yeah.
this at the very early stage. They tend to be from the same university, sometimes from the same hall, within the university. They got together because they don't have to explain to each other their value system or their mindset or thinking, etc. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Next important thing, which I feel that a founder should be chasing validation and not valuation. What is your thought on this?
Okay, so I'll give the headline news: validation every time. Why not valuation? Let me actually just, by, as they say, by difference, explain that. So if you start chasing valuation, then whatever else it is you're doing, you're not doing your business. You are now starting to talk financial jargon. You're starting to understand it. Maybe you are starting to even love it and all of that sort of stuff. And something's got to give, because you only have 24 hours in a day. And if your focus shifts from your main business and gets onto valuation, and you think you can game the system somehow or the other, investors are not dumb. Investors do understand business very well. They understand founders and founder psyche and all of that. And one of the things that we actually do in our coaching of founders is, from the very beginning, get them to write what is their story,
Hmm.
keep updating what is their story
Hmm.
with everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, because the investor will never give you a second chance if he's smart. Their trust only lasts as long as your first lie or fib or overclaim to them, and then you're toast.
Yeah.
So our guidance is, starting from who am I? So be true to thine own self, as the Bible also says, and then bring that truth to the table, interact with founders, etc., etc. We all, at an animal level, sense whether this person is trustworthy or not, and they are bringing their true self to it. They're unashamed to say, "Hey, I screwed up. We went down this path. It was lousy. We lost so much money. Then we pivoted. We did something else." Investors love hearing that. They may not like the fact that some money got lost, but you got to pay for some education, right? So,
Right.
but main thing is, if the founder maintain their mental resilience, they managed to lead their team effectively, kept the team together, and got them to pivot successfully, it's a success story going forward.
Hmm.
So, and that's in the chase of validation, and not, valuation and fancier uh,
Hmm.
pitch decks, etc. The serious investors that I know don't even look at the pitch deck. They say,
Hmm.
"Show me a business plan." And if the guy says, "Well, we haven't done a business plan," etc., forget it. They don't want to talk to you. You know.
Yeah. So true.
Whilst in the lean startup paradigm, we actually say to an idea stage person, "Don't build a three-year, 5-year business plan. Test your idea out completely. Use the lean business model canvas and test that out. Keep in the testing and research mode with that." But the moment you start seeing, some, as they say, green shoots of the hint of an idea that can possibly be grown, that's when you
Hmm.
build a business plan with validated data, not, posting it into Gen AI, trying to be clever. shoving facts into Gemini, then getting Claude to analyze it, exporting into it Gamma and all. I mean, that's kid stuff. That's all university kids are doing that now. So
Mhm, mhm.
validating actually that matters. Yeah.
Right. So, Sanjay, let's talk about the Lean 3S and the Agile. In a startup ecosystem, or early stage, pre-revenue type of startup, how they can adapt to these methodologies in a fashion that it is conducive in growing their business and for growth and reaching to the investors. How will a Lean 3S and Agile will help them?
Okay, so this is a wonderful question. I'll tell you why. Because Lean 3S and just the Agile Scrum ceremony married together become a very powerful way of building capacity in your startup. Now, how do we do it? That means practically every morning you have a meeting of the entire team. You discuss only three things. What has each person finished? Each person gets 2 minutes. What have they finished? What are they doing now? Are they stuck anywhere? Everyone who's stuck somewhere after that 15-minute or half an hour meeting, all the guys with the problem stay back, everyone else goes and starts working, right? On whatever they're working. So that is the Agile Scrum ceremony, which is what we teach and coach people to do on a daily basis, where things are discussed threadbare. The whole company knows where are things stuck, what is happening, this, that, and the other. There's no whisper campaign. There's no mushroom school of management, either. So people are not left in the dark. The Lean 3S important piece is the practice of Kaizen. Kaizen is simply continuous improvement. Now,
Mhm,
how do you do that? And I'm always interested in the how. Every day prior to your 30-minute meeting, you spend half an hour at your desk and you look for a 2-minute improvement in anything. It could be something as trivial as just keeping the desk clean, just making sure that the files, etc., everything is in its place, the in and out thing is done. Creating folders for the virtual data room so that you're permanently remaining in training for that IPO event many years further, right? Etc. 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 Many small changes. 3S stands for sweep, sort, standardize. So as you keep at some process and you actually fix it, you should standardize it. A recent example I'll give you from a company I'm mentoring. Um, the review that took 1.5 hours between me and their key person using Zoho, today we
mhm.
do it in 3 minutes.
Right. Wow. Wow.
So it's like that, right? So I mean that's just one example, and it wasn't rocket science. It was like going from you know G sheets to actually making sure that every entry instead is made into Zoho, and then
Mhm,
from Zoho creating a dashboard into which this thing actually gets uploaded. So the guy just runs a report now, and then the discussion is on the report as opposed to previously going through each file, this, that, and the other, because the uh, data and details about the client were not as fully fleshed out as after coaching the person they started doing. Became very, very simple. And then it's like always starting with the headlines and then doing a deep dive as required. There's just one example. There's a beautiful example by Paul Akers, who's the guru of Lean 3S. Um, he shows you how he went from having his desk, which used to be in a fancy corporate office in his factory, to smaller and smaller and smaller room. Ultimately, now he's on a movable desk which he moves around to all over the factory and to whatever workstation he's got to go to. He, as the CEO, is going to each desk that needs his attention. And this is after he
mhm,
spent half an hour doing a morning meeting and so on and so
mhm.
forth. I think the statistics, if I remember rightly, 50 employees, um, over $40 million, exporting to 130 countries. So that's
Phew.
the extent of the capacity he's built up. And of course, it's relentless training, relentless coaching, and so on and so forth. See, your job as a CXO person is you really are a coach. And if you don't,
Mhm.
if you say, no, I'm introverted, I can't do it, and this, that, and the other, well, sorry, learn how to be a coach. It's doable. You can do it,
Mhm.
So, yeah. So,
Right. So true. Early signals of readiness of a founder for building his or her startup, for funding. What are those parameters, or how do you identify that this founder is really ready?
so firstly, they don't talk vanity metrics. So
Hmm.
the moment founders indulge in vanity metrics, uh, they're not ready because sure as hell, and I do accounting forensic based due diligence, so you can imagine it's kind of hard for them to get past me and other people like we are, right? We deal with checklists which drill down, but um, vanity metrics, very bad sign, basically. The other things are uh, just the atmosphere of a place. You sense a toxic environment when you're there. You find people who are screaming, shouting at customers or at each other, and everything else. And there's a tolerance for uh, shabbiness, shoddiness, and so on and so forth. The famous Loo test is also something. I mean, you may think it's strange, but if you go to a loo, uh, let's say it's a manufacturing unit, and you go to a washroom that's used by the people who are at the engineering shop floor level. And if it's stinking, you can find it just by with your nose and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
They're just not ready. Because if you can't keep a very basic thing sorted out and to the highest quality, it just gives a very, very poor impression. Uh, no matter how much you were saying that, oh, you're making a lot of money and this, that, and the other, you can't even keep a simple process like cleaning a washroom done. And then, of course, readiness of the virtual data room. How ready are you?
Hmm.
If you can't within a minute or so pull up a document that is fundamental to a due diligence, you're not ready.
Hmm.
If you have reached product market fit, but you're not having repeatability, or
Hmm.
your customer revenue is showing actually in the product life cycle curve, you're on the way down, you're not ready, etc., etc. There are many, many indicators, but the main thing is the core team, you know, and the dynamics in the core team. If you don't have the right technology people, you're not ready because that'll fail tech due diligence, right? In
Hmm.
fact, in the VDR, we expect people to put up the NASA scale, the technology readiness level, your go-to-market readiness level, your investability readiness level. Initially, when people start, obviously they start at 0 or 1 or whatever, but at least they
Hmm.
have a path to actually climb,
Hmm.
and they know these are the ladders we have to climb and have to be done. It's a rigorous thing. It's hard. It's not easy to build
Hmm.
large organizations for IPO.